This is Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro. From the corporate office to the cab of a truck, they're here to inspire and empower women in all professions. So gear down, sit back, and enjoy.
Welcome. We're an award-winning show dedicated to empowering women in every profession through inspiring stories and expert insights. No topics off limits on our show. We power women on the road to success with expert and celebrity interviews and information you need. I'm Shelley.
And this is Kathy.
Women are often left behind when it comes to proper investment planning. This leaves them with more month-end money and insufficient wealth to carry them into retirement. Gina Diaz is working to change that. She's an in-demand speaker who helps people accelerate their learning curve on how to invest without fear. Gina understands the need for financial security and teaches people how they can attain it. She worked her way up to become one of the top immigration and real estate attorneys in the Chicago area. Gina's an expert in real estate investing. She's with us today to share some of her insight. Welcome, Gina. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much, Shelley and Kathy, for having me. I am really excited to be.
So are we.
Yes, absolutely. We definitely want to pick your brain here. This is so very cool. I thought before we delve into real estate investing and all of that, we could maybe cover your background. You really rose above so many challenges yourself, so you know the obstacles and the fear that people can have.
Oh my God, yes, definitely. It's fear has been one of those like kind of recurring things in my life until I, kind of learned how to make it like my friend. I always say, fear is actually your friend. It's a basic human emotion that we all have. And it could be scary, but if we kind of pay attention to it and kind of let it guide us, it can also be, something that, is kind of like, one of those sixth senses that's kind of telling us to do or not do something.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you look at it as a friend, as more of a guidance, then, it doesn't have that negative, like, oh my God, fear, connotation to it. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think sometimes fear paralyzes people.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So perspective is a lot of it. And certainly you've had a really great perspective. I mean, to become one of the top immigration and real estate attorneys in the Chicago area, that's huge. I mean, that's a major market.
It's funny because when I went to law school, there were two things that I said I would never do. And that was immigration and real estate.
Oh, yeah, that's funny.
Just because you said it, that's why.
Yeah, like I am going to be like this, big badass criminal defense attorney. Well, I want to be a prosecutor, and like, I'm just going to, live the dream. And I mean, I did do that for a while. I, became a prosecutor for, about a year. And then I switched over to defense and did family law and criminal defense. And then, slowly, because I'm an immigrant myself and people would kind of identify with me. They would start asking me about immigration stuff. And then, during the 2008, 2009 housing, crash, I had a lot of people that were like, can you help me with loan modifications? And, funny enough, I was already a realtor. I actually became a realtor while I was studying for my bar exam because I was a single mom at the time as well. And I obviously couldn't work while I studied for the bar exam. So a friend of mine's like, well, why don't you just, become a realtor and sell a house or two, and that, the commission should get you through, the summer while you, get your attorney job. So I did that. So I kept my real estate license and I started doing loan modifications. And then next thing you know, I'm doing more immigration and real estate than what I thought I would do, and again, it's one of those things that like life kind of has a plan for you and you can't really escape from it.
Yeah.
So and now it's really what I like to do the most because with the immigration, obviously people identify with me and I can identify with the fears and the insecurities that people feel. And it's frustrating, obviously, because the immigration system is so broken and it's just not really fair. to people, and there's really not much we can do about it. So it kind of sometimes makes you not want to do it because you're like, oh my God, I hate seeing families being broken apart, or I hate seeing people that maybe should not be here get to stay here for a technicality, and stuff like that. And real estate has been, what has, basically provided for my future. I am a ovarian cancer survivor, and I was diagnosed with cancer at the age of 32. And at that time is when my career was kind of taking off. I had my own law practice, and it was doing really well. I actually my youngest daughter, I had them induce me because I had a criminal trial for a defendant that was on one of America's Most Wanted at the time, and I was like, this is going to be a great trial, and like I can't miss it, and this baby's getting in the way, so come get me induced sooner so I can make it to my trial. That's how dedicated I was to my craft. And I think the whole like, oh no, you all of a sudden go to the ER because I have this tremendous pain in my left ovary, tremendous pain. Well, at the time I didn't know that's what it was, but it was just a horrible pain that I just couldn't take anymore. I felt like something kind of burst inside of me. I go to the ER, and then they say, oh yeah, we got to prepare you for emergency surgery because you have a 5-pound tumor that burst through your left ovary.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And I was like, oh my goodness, and so my, still my mind is like, okay, but am I going to be okay by this time? Because I got a trial, I got things I got to do. And, they're like, well, let's, take it one step at a time. And then, a couple of days later, they're like, well, it's positive for cancer. And now I have to go see an oncologist. And, at the time when they told me this, my youngest daughter was not even a year old yet. And I have 3 girls. So, girls need their mom. Not that boys don't, but, girls need their mom.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my goodness, what if I don't make it, like, how are my kids going to survive? How is my family, I'm an only child too. Like, how are my parents going to survive? Like, they all depend on me. And realizing that, what, I don't have a 401k plan. I don't have, like major savings. Like, I barely got I had just gotten a life insurance maybe like 4 months prior. But I mean, $1 million for, 3 girls isn't going to take them very far. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So like my brain went into like, now what mode, and the fear of leaving this world and not leaving my family financially secure, is what drove me to act. And that's why I realized that fear, had it not been that fear that I had of like the now what, I wouldn't have, acted and said, okay, Gina, like, get your together. Let's figure out what we're going to do. You can't just assume that tomorrow, you're going to, get another case and have more money. You got to start saving. You got to start figuring this out. You got to get a plan. So after my whole cancer fiasco, and by the grace of God, I'm still here. I started researching, like, how do I get rich quick? Like, I don't, what's gonna, give me quick wealth and, whatnot. And obviously all these like, things popped up, but the one thing that kept popping up was real estate, investing in real estate. And I thought, well, I've been doing real estate. I've been doing real estate closings for other people, for other investors. How can I get this done for myself? And that's kind of what opened up my journey into, real estate investing. And I was fortunate enough that I was invited to a 3-day event that kind of changed the rest of my life and opened up the doors to learn how to become a real estate investor and do it the right way, and, build my portfolio and build that wealth and that financial freedom, so that if I ever end up like I did at that time, I'm not scared of the now what, what I mean?
Well, bravo to what you did, and congratulations on being
a cancer survivor. I mean, you had so many challenges, and yet you were able to think out of the box, and you were trying to prepare for your family's future.
Right.
All these things and all these challenges. So no doubt you had fear when you were looking at all of this. And I know that people quite often will look at real estate investing. And over the years, I mean, that has been considered one of the biggest investments anyone can make. People buy homes and they assume that their home's going to be worth more in 30 years than when they first purchased it. We've had some ups and downs. I think that the crash in 2008 scared a lot of people. Has that created a lot of fear with people with real estate investing at this point?
Oh, yes. I mean, I meet a lot of people that, were like, well, I used to invest in real estate, but I got really burned by, what happened 2008, 2009, and I lost it all. And I'm scared to dive back in. And, it's kind of like, well, let's talk about it, right? Let's figure out why that, because there's a lot of people that invested, and in the 2008, 2009, it didn't really affect them as much as others, right? So the people that were not affected as much, or that were not, did not end up losing at all, what did they do, then that, did not cause them to, to be able to go under? And, the answer is you have to know how to invest so that any type of crash or pandemic happens, you're still standing. And because I learned how to invest the right way and to make sense of it, even with COVID, I was, okay. Actually, it's because of my real estate investment portfolio that I was okay. At the time I was, still doing a lot of, criminal and family law and immigration, which was all court-based. Well, pandemic happened and courts closed. So that means I'm not really getting any revenue, but my real estate business, part of the business, actually went up. And because of my real estate portfolio and my rentals and my income, even tenants that weren't able to pay were getting housing assistance. So my income was never really disturbed in that aspect. I wasn't scared of how am I going to pay my bills? How am I, am I going to have to get a forbearance for my mortgage? And, how am I going to keep my business alive? None of my employees, they never stopped working. We just kept working because of real estate.
Okay.
Stay tuned for more of Women Road Warriors coming up.
Dean Michael, the tax doctor here. I have one question for you. Do you want to stop worrying about the IRS? If the answer is yes, then look no further. I've been around for years. I've helped countless people across the country, and my success rate speaks for itself. So now you know where to find good, honest help with your tax problems. What are you waiting for? If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or haven't filed in years, call me now at 888-557-4020 or go to mytaxhelpmd.com for a free consultation and get your life back.
Industry movement Trucking Moves America Forward is telling the story of the industry. Our safety champions, the women of trucking, independent contractors, the next generation of truckers, and more. Help us promote the best of our industry. Share your story and what you love about trucking. Share images of a moment you're proud of. And join us on social media. Learn more at truckingmovesamerica.com.
Welcome back to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro.
If you're enjoying this informative episode of Women Road Warriors, I wanted to mention Kathy and I explore all kinds of topics that will power you on the road to success. We feature a lot of expert interviews. Plus, we feature celebrities and women who've been trailblazers. Please check out our podcast at womenroadwarriors.com and click on our episodes page. We're also available wherever you listen to podcasts, on all the major podcast channels like Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Amazon Music, Audible, you name it. Check us out and bookmark our podcast. Also, don't forget to follow us on social media. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, LinkedIn, YouTube, and other sites. And tell others about us. We want to help as many women as possible. Too many times we're paralyzed by fear when it comes to investing in our financial future. The market variables and uncertainty stop us in our tracks, and we end up missing opportunities that can provide a prosperous future. Women are especially driven by the need for security. Gina Diaz has always been in search of that. As a Cuban immigrant, she rose to become a prominent immigration and real estate attorney in Chicago. At the height of her career with her own law practice, she was diagnosed with ovarian cancer at the age of 32. The fear of leaving her 3 daughters and family behind without being financially secure set her into overdrive to come up with a plan to get her fast-tracked to the wealth she needed. Real estate became the catalyst for her success as a real estate investor. It helped Gina build her portfolio so she would never have to languish in the world of now what if she ever faced something like that again. Gina works to help women find the same kind of security for their future. She says you have to know how to invest so that with any type of market fluctuation, you're still standing. Even during the pandemic, Gina's real estate investments carried her through. Even her rental properties went up. That income helped her keep her law practice afloat. So Gina,
there are a lot of intricacies in real estate investing. I guess maybe if we could kind of start with what is real estate investing? How do you become a savvy investor? What are all the different options?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, the event that changed my life is a 3-day event here in Chicago that I attended. And it really kind of opened my eyes to even some things that I didn't know that I had all along, that I didn't, even know that these were opportunities I can take advantage of. For example, wholesaling real estate. I didn't even know what that was until I attended this event. And mind you, I'd already been an attorney for a while, doing real estate for a while, and still didn't really understand it because I never understood it from the investor's perspective, which is very different than just, being a realtor or just doing law work for like a traditional buyer seller, So I learned, one, like you said, what is truly real estate investing, and a lot of people think of HGTV, buy a property, you're going to fix it up and you're going to make, all this money on it, which is
you flip it, right?
Yeah, exactly. You flip it. And it's like, that cannot be further from the truth. There are obviously properties that you may be able to acquire and put in, some work into it and flip it at a very good profit, but it's not going to happen in 30 minutes. You're not going to buy a property, get the permits right away, fix it up, get a seller right away and, make all this money. Like, that's not reality, right? So you have to be able to know, if I'm going to buy this property at, let's say, 100,000, and I know if I put 50,000 into it, I'm going to be able to sell it at 250,000. So now I feel like my spread is going to be 100,000 as far as my, then from there, you also have to now account for the holding cost. How long is it going to take you to be able to flip this property? Like, how many months is it going to take you realistically to be able to fix this property? And how, after you fix it, how long is this property going to be on the market before you could potentially get a buyer? So you have to kind of add all that in there, right? And then you always have to have a buffer for incidentals, because while, even my husband is in GC now, like, even, his numbers can be off sometimes because there were things that you didn't realize were there until you kind of, knock down a few walls. And then you're like, oh, wow, I didn't realize this was going to happen. So you kind of have to have that as well. So you got to do your numbers right and be realistic about it. And I'm very conservative. If I feel that I can get this property done in 3 months, I'll buffer for 5 months, because you just never know, right? So that's one thing, like knowing like the reality of investing, not just the sexy part of it, but the ugly part of it, there's,
right.
Get that straight. Secondly, like something that I learned is like, don't fall in love with the properties. You're not going to live. Like, sometimes our first properties that we started doing, I was like, oh, I want it to be this color and I want to add this to it. And, my mentor was like, Miss Gina, like, you're not going to live here. You have to make it to a point where whoever's going to buy it or whoever's going to rent it can make it their own. So we try to keep the, very cookie cutter type of rehabbing where it's modern, but it's also can be adaptable to whoever's either going to buy it or move in there. And it also keeps your expenses down, as well, because you're not, there's a difference between fixing a property you're physically going to live in and one that you're not, right?
Right.
So that's another thing. And then always have that plan B. So if I plan on flipping a property, I also have to have a plan B in case, for whatever reason, I can't flip it or I decide not to flip it. Will it still work for me as a buy and hold, or, as a short-term rental or a long-term rental? Like, what's my plan B if my plan A doesn't work? And, you have to be very disciplined in that. If it doesn't work for you as a plan B, then you got to be really sure that your plan A is going to work. Otherwise,
Sure.
you're going to be stuck with a property that you may not necessarily want it to be stuck with,
So you need to get a lot of advice. You need to have a good accountant. You need to have maybe even a property manager. I wouldn't think everybody is good at going in and renovating or rehabbing.
Yeah, exactly. Your team, right? You got to have a team. I mean, the first few properties that me and my husband did, even with the help of this network that we joined, the first one was a freaking nightmare. When I tell you that I was ready to throw in the towel, I was like, oh my God, this is horrible. I never want to do this. I mean, everything that could go wrong went wrong, including a lawsuit. That's how wrong it went. But I am so glad that happened. Because of that, my husband decided to just become a GC himself. And
what is a GC? I'm sorry.
I was just going to ask that. What is that?
Yeah, I apologize. Yeah, he decided to become the general contractor as opposed to having to hire someone else to be the general contractor. And then, because contractors seem to be like the biggest pain in the ass when it comes to, real estate.
Oh, yeah. And to try to find somebody who's reliable, because if they know you don't know something, they can take you for a ride.
Oh, especially as a woman, I've gotten contractors or even like other, sellers when I go on off-market properties that are like, oh, where's your husband? And I'm like, I mean, at home, what do you need him for?
I hate that.
Yeah. So it's and then the minute you kind of open your mouth and you say stuff that makes them realize that you know exactly what you're talking about, then they're like, oh, oh crap, but yeah, it's definitely, as a woman, been, a little bit of a challenge, but it can also help you, sometimes if I don't know something or if I'm trying to see like what they're going to tell me, I'll play the damsel in distress card and I'll be like, oh, I'm sorry, I really don't know much about this. What do you think? Sometimes I'm like, I want to know what you're going to tell me. I want to know how honest you're going to be. And I want to know, like, I want to get an opinion, so I'm like, you know what? Sometimes you got to use what God gave you, and just, they already think you don't know what you're talking about. So I'll play the card along to get, the information I need, or, the soft side of, women, we're supposed to be like caregivers, and we're supposed to be like, soft and sweet, especially with these villages. Let me tell you, when you go to these villages and ask for permits, they can be brutal.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I always say, man, if you are that miserable at your job, quit and go get another one, because the customer service is horrible.
Yeah. Yep.
I take them a couple of donuts, and I become friends with them. I make the best effort to get to know people, especially if it's a village or a city that I know I'm going to be working in. And that also helps. So I always say, look, if people are being rude, don't be rude right back.
Schmooze them. Got to do some schmoozing. Yeah.
Kill them with kindness. Is what I say.
Yeah.
There's been times that I wake up in having a shitty day. I wake up with a bad mood, and someone just says thank you to me or smiles to me, and it literally changes my whole perspective for that day. So I always say, you never know what your simple smile or your simple thank you or a simple compliment is going to do for that person. It might literally make their whole day better.
Sure.
It sounds silly, but it's happened to me, so I assume it would happen to other people as well.
Right.
So definitely, like, build your network. And get to know people that are, in the industry and that can give you the advice that you need, because real estate investing is not a solo business. You need a network
Right.
of people. You need to have a good contractor. You need to, have a good attorney. You need to have a good title company. You build rapport with wholesalers so you can get those off market, good properties, like attend as many like RIA meetings that you can, in your state or wherever you're at. Kind of get involved.
RIA would be Real Estate Investing Association?
Right. Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So attend as many of those as you can, find local ones, and ask questions. I realized that I was doing a lot of closings for real estate investors as an attorney, but I never asked them how they did it because I was afraid. Here comes the fear. I was afraid that they would think I'm stupid, that they would be like, well, you're my real estate attorney and you don't know how to do real estate investing. So because of that fear of like, I don't want them to think I'm stupid, I'm not going to ask. And you know what? That was really stupid of me to think that way, because had I asked them, I'm sure, they would have offered, or they would have given me some guidance. And, that has nothing to do with me as an attorney, as a real estate attorney. This is completely different. And it really is. And even now that, I'm one of the top real estate investing attorneys here, because I've developed, a lot of knowledge, not only because of my law experience, but also because of my personal experience as an investor. I can see the difference, because there's a lot of attorneys on the other side when I'm doing a transaction. They don't really handle real estate investing files. They handle traditional closings, and they even sometimes don't understand. And I have to kind of explain a little bit. So I always tell people, like, it's a totally different thing. Sure. Real estate is not the same for every single transaction. So,
no, it's very true.
Yeah, it gets specialized in what you're trying to do, and ask questions.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. The only question that's a dumb question is the one you don't ask.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And don't let the fear of what are they going to think if I ask this question stop you, because you know what they think is their problem, not yours.
That's right. That's right.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Stay tuned for more of Women Road Warriors coming up.
Dean Michael, the tax doctor here. I have one question for you. Do you want to stop worrying about the IRS? If the answer is yes, then look no further. I've been around for years. I've helped countless people across the country, and my success rate speaks for itself. So now you know where to find good, honest help with your tax problems. What are you waiting for? If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or haven't filed in years, call me now at 888-557-4020 or go to mytaxhelpmd.com for a free consultation and get your life back.
Industry movement Trucking Moves America Forward is telling the story of the industry. Our safety champions, the women of trucking, independent contractors, the next generation of truckers, and more. Help us promote the best of our industry. Share your story and what you love about trucking. Share images of a moment you're proud of. And join us on social media. Learn more at truckingmovesamerica.com.
Welcome back to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro.
Wholesaling real estate and understanding it from an investor's perspective is very different than what you would think. It's not all about the typical flipping that we've seen on TV. Real estate investing expert and attorney Gina Diaz says you have to account for the holding cost. That's how long you have to hang on to the property before you realize your profits when you sell it. You always need a buffer for incidentals like property improvements that were unexpected. Plan for these in your costs so there are no surprises financially. Don't fall in love with the properties you're trying to improve and sell. Maintain your objectivity in rehabbing a property. Always have a plan B. What are your alternatives if your plan A doesn't work? Will you rent the property? What are your other options? If the property doesn't work with a plan B, you have to really make sure your plan A is going to work, or the property may not be worth it. It's also important to build your network and get to know the people in the industry who can give you the advice that you need. Real estate is not a solo business. Build alliances with people who can help you succeed. If you don't know something, don't be afraid to ask a question.
So Gina, we've been talking about maybe a more active investor where somebody's a more hands-on, try to manage property and flip it and that sort of thing, or have rentals.
Yeah.
You could also be a passive investor in like a real estate investment trust. Do you cover any of that too? Because I'm sure there are people out there who don't necessarily want to be that actively involved, but they want to have some residual income.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, there's so many ways to do it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I get so excited talking about real estate, as you can tell, because it's so exciting. And you wouldn't think that, like when I go back to look at my young self of, going into law school saying, I'm never going to do real estate because that's so boring. Like, little did I know how exciting it can actually be, because there's so many ways to do it. There's so many, you can be as active as you want, or not. I know people that maybe do 1 or 2 deals a year. Maybe they'll do a flip or two a year and, make good enough money that they're good and they still have their 9 to 5. And I know people that have actually quit their 9 to 5 and actually became full-time real estate investors because they like it and they prefer to do that and control their own time, right? So as active as you want to be, as passive as you want to be, but just do it, because it is securing your future and it'll leave that kind of legacy for your own family. Like when me and my husband decided to do it, we just wanted, 4 houses. We're like, we want to get 4 rentals because we're going to pay them off. And then we're going to leave one for each one of our kids. And then me and him will live off of another and then we'll be fine. That's, what we thought. And we're like 60 plus properties that we have in our portfolio now. We've done over 25 flips. We've done, over 20 wholesale deals. And we're like, what happened to those, only 4? But we just love it. It's fun. It's, the type of investment that you're making is truly going to make a difference, for the rest of your life. Like my mentor says, if you take care of real estate for the first 5 years, real estate will take care of you for the rest of your life. And 5 years later, I can tell you it's very, very true.
Well, you certainly have the residual income with the rentals.
Yes.
You do have to have, you have the headaches. Sometimes you can have nightmare tenants. It's amazing what people do. It's like, really? You can't fix a motorcycle in the living room. I mean,
that actually happened to my family when they were renting out a house. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it comes with the challenges, but like you said, getting a network, getting advice. And I would imagine if you don't know exactly how to handle some of these things, maybe having a property manager, that sort of thing that can keep track of stuff for you.
Absolutely. And, and like, you don't even need a property manager if you're only, juggling a few, because sometimes people think, oh, I need this, I need that. And it's like, the only way you're going to learn is if you do it yourself. So my advice is like the first few that you get, manage it yourself, go to those properties as often as you can. If you're not out there, like ripping walls apart and stuff and physically doing it, go and ask the questions with the contractors as they're building it so you can learn. I mean, I've learned a lot of things about homes just by going there and being like, oh, what's that? Or how do you do this? And how do you do that? Or, asking my husband, how do you do this? And that's how he also learned. And that's, how he became a general contractor. So you learn by doing. But obviously some people, like I said, are still, have a career and they're still working their 9 to 5, or they still have their own business. And, you can be as involved as you want to or not. But especially when it comes to managing your properties and stuff, if you only have a few, why pay someone else to do it yourself and learn from it. And once you, get more than you can handle, then go on to a property manager. But even that, make sure it's an actual property manager that is being referred to you or recommended, because there's a lot of them out there that, give you the name of the slumlord because they don't do what they're supposed to do.
Now, in terms of rehabbing a property, certainly people going into this, they need to get financed because this all costs money. Are there specific loans, low interest loans, things like that are available to someone who wants to start doing this?
Yes. And so that, like my thought when I used to think of real estate investing prior to joining this group was I need to have money, right? Like, the building where my law office is at, I bought it before I joined this group, and I saved up about 100,000 over 10 years to be able to put it down as a down payment. So then I'm like, okay, I bought this building where my law office is at. Now I'm going to probably have to wait another 10 years to save up another 100,000 and, invest in another one. And, luckily, like I said, I went to this 3-day event and joined a group, and I discovered this thing called private money lending. And people are actually willing to lend you their hard-earned money, whether it's from their 401k, whether it's from savings for whatnot, to buy these properties and to rehab them. And then you either refinance the property and pay them back and then put it into a traditional commercial loan, or you sell it and then pay them back and then you keep the profit. And it's because of that private money lending that I was able to scale. My first properties were 100% funded, both for the rehab and the purchase price, by private money lenders that belong to this group.
Now, with the inflation and the high interest rates today, is that still an option people can pursue?
Yes. I mean, listen, like interest rates and stuff like that, if we go back to, COVID, like the interest rates were, about 6-7% for commercial investment properties. That's kind of what they're at right now. The reason why we think, oh my God, interest rates are so high is because during COVID, we got the 4% and 3%ers. Yep. I mean, I refinanced my personal home during COVID at 2%. Like, I don't think
Ooh, that's really sweet.
Right? Like, I'm never going to get that. Like, my mortgage company keeps telling me, you got equity, you want to refinance? I'm like, hell no.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we kind of got spoiled, and now people are like, oh my God, the interest rates are so high. I'm like, well, technically, no. They're kind of back to what they used to be. Yeah, do we want them to be lower? The lower, the better, right? But they're not really that bad compared to pre-COVID. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Oh, and they're certainly not like they were in the 1980s, where people were buying houses with 12 and 13% interest mortgages.
Yeah, no.
That was crazy. Gina, I also wanted to talk about the real estate investment trust. I know that a lot of people look at those. They can be passive investors. They put their money in that they're investing. They actually put money into the real estate property, say it be an apartment complex or a commercial building, and they pay the expenses and the property taxes and wherever the property is. Is that an option? Can people do that if they want to be kind of hands off?
Yeah, they can. But honestly, like, my advice would be just become a private money lender.
A private money lender? Okay.
Yeah, why do that? You could just become a private money lender. Mm-hmm. And if you just, and there's a lot of people that do that. Like I said, I've gotten a lot of my investments this way. Like, there's a lot of people that have, money that are, whether it's in a 401k, a self-directed IRA or whatnot, and, or just money that they kind of want to do something with, but they don't really want to get involved in like buying and all that stuff. They can still get involved with real estate by becoming a private money lender. And then, with the private money lending stuff is you basically become the bank, so like, right. When I get a private money loan from somebody in the group, they obviously review the property. I give them all the information. I'm buying this property for this amount. This is how much money I'm going to put in to rehab it. This is what I consider the after repair value to be. And this is my backup plan. I'm going to refinance it, blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to need you to lend me this money for the next 6 months. And so then they agree. We agree on the interest rate and the, origination fee. They get their money. I'm paying them interest like I would be paying the bank. And then as soon as I refinance it or I sell it, they get all of their money back. And then, the mortgage goes away. But they secure their investment by putting a lien over the property that they're helping me obtain, just like any bank would do.
Okay. So somebody loans the money as a private money lender. They can charge, say, 7 or 8% like the banks are.
Yep.
And that is actually their income,
exactly.
The 7 or 8% over the course of whatever the loan is.
Correct.
Okay.
because they're short-term loans. The way that we have it structured in the group, it's a 2 points origination fee on the front end, and then it's a 12% interest rate for the year. So, but this is a short-term loan. This is a 6-month, 4-month loan because it's not meant for it to, stay on the property forever.
Sure.
So, and then it's still, you're getting the full purchase price and the full rehab all at once, versus if you go and take out a loan with a commercial lender, usually finance 90% of the purchase price and 100% of the rehab, but in draws. So you don't get that money right away.
Right. So from the investment standpoint, it's a good return on investment if you pick the right investment to lend the money.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And that's one thing that I always tell my clients that are lenders, you have to make sure that the property is, you do your due diligence, right? Don't just lend to lend. Look at the property, have the borrower give you all that information that you need to make a educated decision, because if for whatever reason they don't pay you, you're going to have to take over this property. So you want to make sure that it's a property that you're willing to take over, and that it's got to make sense to you too, right?
Sure. Yeah. It's not like buying stock in a company. If the company has problems, you're not going to step in and say, hey, taking over. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. That would be my advice when it comes to that. I think that makes a lot more sense than, the real estate investment trust. But obviously that also, I know a couple of people that do it, and, they are also comfortable with that. So, you can also do that, of course.
Now, you've got some books here. I know we've just touched on a couple of different options in terms of real estate investing. There's so many different things you can do. I wanted to be able to give a resource to our listeners.
You have some books that you co-authored that are on your website at theginadiaz.com. And you have other resources that people can explore so they can learn more about real estate. Is that a good place for them to start on your website?
Yeah, if they're interested in investing in real estate, they can always, we have an actual 3-day that I started coming up in July 12, 13, and 14. I don't know if this will be out by then, but if not, we have another one in November. But they can always direct message me and my email, which is Gina@dscaslaw.com. And I will be more than happy to speak to them and to guide them into, whichever aspect they want. Of course, they can always, buy the books as well. But, if they're really serious, I would love to help them, because I feel that one of the reasons why, God spared my life in, when I was diagnosed with what, we call the silent killer, which is ovarian cancer, 5-pound tumor, is because I need to help other people. I need to help other women. I need to, kind of be that voice for people that really want to make a difference in their life. And I want to do something with what I know and with my knowledge to help others. I want it to be meaningful. I kind of went through like a little bit of a spiritual awakening when this happened, because I had a friend that, while I was kind of going through it, also had the same type of cancer that I did. And she actually passed away, and I didn't, obviously.
Wow.
Here. So I realized how fortunate I am that I had a 5-pound tumor, basically a baby inside of me, and cancer did not spread anywhere, and I'm good. I'm here, able to see my kids grow up, and so I want to do something to help other women and to advocate and to say, listen, like, life is very precious. It can be taken away from us at any minute. One day you think you're on top of the world and you're doing amazing things, and tomorrow you may not be here, but your life has to have a meaning and a purpose, and help as many people as you can, and just be a good person overall, because that's going to be your legacy, right? That's going to
I was a
very
nurse
true.
prior to this job, and for 13 years. And the biggest thing that I took away from that whole experience is the fact that people, when they're on their deathbed, It's not about how much money they have in their bank account is what they're thinking about. It's about a lot of them were filled with regrets that they didn't live enough, love enough, forgive enough, travel, spend time with the people that mean the most. I saw often that they felt that the priorities were in the wrong place, that we get so side hit with false illusions, right? That we lose the meaning of life. We lose the meaning and the purpose of what really it's all about.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, what you're saying is 100% true.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's important to be financially secure so that, my dad would always tell me when someone would pass away, we'd be like, oh my God, I'm so, so sad. And my dad's like, don't feel bad for the person that passed away. Feel bad for the people that are still here, because they're the ones that are going to be mourning that loss and having to pick up after the pieces.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
When this happened to me, I realized that, if I'm gone, I'm gone, right? Like, hopefully I'm in a better place, but what about the people I'm leaving behind? Can I leave in peace knowing that I've done everything I could do for them, and that, I've, kind of mended anything that I had to mend in life. And I didn't leave, I make it a point to never leave the house without telling my kids, my family, I love them. I make it a point to make sure I talk to my mom at least once a day. I make it a point to, if I'm angry at somebody, I try to talk it out with them and get it resolved right away versus just holding it in and being angry for no reason. And I remind myself that, being angry isn't going to help anybody. It's actually going to hurt me. So some things you can't control, just let it go. It's not the end of the world.
Very true. Gina, bravo for everything you're doing.
This is just wonderful. And you're giving people hope here, because what you're describing in terms of real estate investing, you don't have to be a mega millionaire to do it. You can start with something that's very small, or maybe zero down with your options and work your way up. There are no barriers to entry. This is very encouraging.
Yes, for sure. Definitely not. I think anybody can do it, honestly. Anybody can do it. All you have to do is want to do it. And, surround yourself with the right people that are going to help you, and ask the right questions, and just, lose the fear, because even if you fail the first time, like I did with our first home, it was awful. We turned it around by learning the lessons that we needed to learn from that and actually bettering ourselves. So I always say, listen, don't be scared of failing, because it is because you fail that you win. If you never failed, how do you know you won?
That's very true. Very true. Gina, where do people reach out to you? Because I'm sure they're going to have questions. And we just touched on a few of the options in terms of real estate investing. And it sounds like your 3-day seminar is going to be something that people might be interested in.
Yes, for sure. They can always email me at gina@dscaslaw.com. I'm constantly checking my emails. And I can also give out my number. My office number is area code 773-579-0140, or check out our website at dscase.com.
dscase.com. Okay. And do you work with people remotely, or do they have to be in Illinois?
No, we do remote, of course. And the 3-day event is actually also remote as well. It's in person and online, because we do get a lot of people from out of state that, join. So yeah, we can do it locally or remotely.
Thank you, Gina, for being on the show. And you're bringing some options to our women listeners who may not have thought about this.
Yes, for sure. I think, and ladies, please get your yearly checkups, get your,
Yep.
And demand that you get screened for everything. Insurances nowadays doesn't, want to even cover, the basics, but demand that you get the blood work. It's not hard to do what they call tumor markers to detect for, those, ovarian, cervical cancer, those things that, are not very traditional to check for, because the only reason why it's called a silent killer is because you really don't know you have it until it's too late. But
right.
You need to make people aware that, don't let it be too late. It's very curable and it's very doable if you catch it on time.
You're a champion. Thank you for bringing that message to women, too. It's very, very true.
Yes, thank you.
None of us like to go to the doctor and go through those annual exams, but it's necessary.
It's necessary. Yep. You know what? You got to put yourself first. It's okay to put yourself first because you can't help others if you can't help yourself.
Very true. Thank you, Gina. This has been very informative. I really appreciate it.
Ever.
Thank you, Shelley and Kathy. It's a pleasure. I can't believe some time went by so fast.
I know, right?
But it's been awesome. Thank you, ladies, so much. And I commend you for what you guys are doing. This is awesome. This just felt like I was sitting down talking to my girlfriends. So,
well, thank you.
Yay!
Vice versa.
Yeah. Thank you very, very much.
We hope you've enjoyed this latest episode. And if you want to hear more episodes of Women Road Warriors or learn more about our show, be sure to check out womenroadwarriors.com. And please follow us on social media. And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. On our website, we also have a selection of podcasts just for women. There are a series of podcasts from different podcasters. So if you're in the mood for women's podcasts, just click the Power Network tab on womenroadwarriors.com. You'll have a variety of shows to listen to anytime you want to. Podcasts made for women. Women Road Warriors is on all the major podcast channels like Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Audible, YouTube, and others. So check us out, and please follow us wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro. If you want to be a guest on the show or have a topic or feedback, email us at sjohnson@womenroadwarriors.com.